if you have the luxury of being able to scream in the shower without anybody yelling at you for screaming in the shower, you should, that's where you go to learn.
It's Joe DeVita from Loudwire, and joining me today, here to school you on how he learned to scream, it's Will Ramos from Lorna Shore. Take us all the way back to the very, very beginning. What was the band or the vocalist or the song that you heard that made you want to even do this thing in the first place, to make these crazy sounds coming out of your mouth?
I played a lot of different instruments growing up. And so at the time when I was in high school, I was like 14 years old and I was playing guitar and I was playing like classic rock, dude, like some AC/DC, like Black Sabbath, like, you know, like run of the mill. Like I just got into rock. So I've been jamming that for a while. And then I met this dude who also played guitar, and he was what we would refer to as a scene kid. You know, this is how I started my rabbit hole down the heavy metal world. But I remember he was giving me like Escape the Fate. He was giving me like Lamb of God. He gave me a list of different bands to check out, you know. And the one that really stuck out to me was Lamb of God. When I first listened to it, I was like, this is way too heavy. Like, this is the hardest thing I've ever heard. I don't even know how I can get into this. And then I just remember just continuously listening, like Laid to Rest, Redneck. This is the motherfucking invitation. One more time. This is the motherfucking invitation. Two most popular songs at the time, obviously. I had an iHome and an iPod Nano, the ones that were like this big. And I would be in the bathroom taking a shower, and I'm like, all right, it's time to jam. I'd put on the freaking iHome and I would blast it at like max volume, just scream. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know at the time, but singing in the shower, obviously you have better acoustics. But at the time I was just doing whatever. But at some point I figured it out, and I was screaming in front of my friend, and he was like, dude, you're not that bad, dude. Then I kind of got my guitar and just like put it to the side and was like, now I'm gonna start screaming. And that's how it started. There was no teaching, like all just like pure punch yourself in the face and then figure it out afterwards. So it was great. It worked out.
Lamb of God in the shower. All right. But yeah, it's
Lamb
nice.
of God in the shower.
You got some natural reverb in there. You've got a lot of steam and some moisture in the air. Keep everything wet. It's perfect.
Dude, if you have the luxury of being able to scream in the shower without anybody yelling at you for screaming in the shower, that's where you go to learn. Just saying, that's the best place.
So did you have to wait until like, all right, nobody's home, everybody's out of the house, they shouldn't be back for an hour, let's hit the shower, sing some Lamb of God?
Pretty much. Fortunately, the bathroom was on a completely other floor from where everything else was. I remember one day my mom actually knocked on the door and asked if I was okay. And I was like, yes, I'm fine.
Was she perceptive to the kind of music that you were listening to?
She hated it, dude. She hated it. Like being in a Puerto Rican household, like I am the only metal dude in my family. Like everybody just listens to like salsa. And I remember like my mom was like, I just want you to dance. Just be a dancer. I was like, I'm not going to be a dancer. I don't have that kind of rhythm. You know what I mean? Obviously, when she started hearing me scream, she was like, damn. She was like, this is what you're doing now? And I'm like, I guess this is what I'm doing.
Do you remember the first time you recorded yourself doing extreme vocals? And when you played it back, did it sound like what you thought you were hearing in your head?
Definitely. But it was bad, man. Like I had the old PA set up, the freaking like a $200 like piece of crap. And I remember setting up like, all right, I'm gonna make it really nice cover. Like, how do I make this really nice? I got a bed sheet and I hung it from the ceiling behind me. It was the wrinkliest bed sheet I could have found in like the world. And sometimes it comes up in my time hop and I'm like, this is the worst video I may have ever put out.
Were you struggling to make any sounds, like the highs, the lows? How were you working with the range, and what gave you trouble? Did your throat hurt when you were doing this at first?
All the time, dude. It was just like, so I was always better at my lows and my mids and all of that. And then I was like, I want to figure out how to do highs, but I didn't know how to do highs. Every time it felt like freaking razor blades in my throat. And I was just like, I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to feel this, and this is just what you got to do to get highs. But then like after doing it like longer, like many, honestly, like years longer, then I finally figured it out from like, Honestly, watching Dan Watson from Enterprise Earth when he was back in Infinite Annihilator, watching his videos, and that was like, oh shit, this is how you do a high.
How did you learn how to pace yourself on stage?
It took me one entire 2-week tour with Awakened Providence to figure that one out. I was with In Dying Arms, Phantoms, and Convictions. We did like a little 2-week thing around the US. First of all, it was my first experience like on stage ever. I just remember like just being winded all the time. And I was like, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like, what am I doing wrong? And then I would watch other vocalists like Orion, and I'd be like, oh shit, this is what he's doing. You're like, he's not going as wild on stage. Maybe I should figure something else out like that. You know what I mean? Like, people can go wild, that's fine, but I don't do cardio. You know what I mean? If I did a lot of cardio, maybe that'd be a whole nother story.
One person that comes to mind for me is Trevor from Black Dahlia. I mean, he has so many vocals in those songs, and he's just a force on stage. I don't know how he has that kind of stamina.
Dude, he looks incredibly relaxed. Like, I mean, obviously you're doing vocals and you try and put on like this. But like there are times where like when I was at Warped Tour where I would look at his face like while he was putting out these notes, and he was just like super relaxed. Like it doesn't look like he was straining to hit anything, and that was kind of like an eye opener, bro. Because at the time I was still busting my voice trying to figure out how he does these highs.
Now, other than some metal vocalists, are there any animals you look up to vocally?
Oh, dude. I mean, we gotta say, man, it's the pig, man. You know, I'm Puerto Rican out here. We have pig every freaking holiday. So, you know, I mean, it really resonates with me, you know, on a spiritual level.
Enunciating. Is this something that has always been super important to you? And how difficult is it to get some of these vowel consonant sounds? Are there any of them that kind of trip you up in particular?
I'm not gonna lie, enunciating was the only thing that I was good at when I first started doing vocals, because I just felt like that's what you were supposed to do. I would be listening to music where they don't enunciate at all, and I would be like, dude, this is the heaviest thing. Why don't I sound like this? And then I realized it was because I was enunciating like every single word. And when you enunciate, you don't sound so much like a monster. But when you sound like a monster, nobody knows what the fuck you're saying. I had to break myself out of this enunciating everything and just kind of work backwards, which is, you know, the opposite of most people do, but that's just how it worked for me.
Cupping the mic. Let's talk about it. What do you think?
I don't like cupping, man. I do not. I don't. I mean, when you're on stage, you're live, you know, it's nice to have like, I don't know, like let's say this Coca-Cola is the mic. I'll grab it like this, you know, I'll grab it at the head, but I'll never do one of these because I feel like it's just too easy. It makes it too easy to do the crazy lows. You know what I mean? Like when people are live, if you double cup, you could make anything sound absolutely insane. So for me, I don't double cup. I like to single cup, if anything, or no cup.
What about some pre-show musts? Are there any sort of rituals that you have for your voice, or anything that you like to eat or drink, or anything that you specifically cannot eat or drink before a show?
I try not to drink coffee right before I go on. I would always drink tea. I would always do my warm-ups. I don't smoke. I don't drink or anything before I go on anymore. Now I just try and be like straight, because again, one of those things, like especially if you drink, it's very easy to get into your own music. And when you get into your own music, and because you're drunk, you're not pacing yourself as much. Again, if I want to be as relaxed as I can on stage, I just got to be sober. I have a whole bunch of warm-ups, but the one that I stick to the most is called Tuvan throat singing. It's just that rumbly sound. I literally feel like false chord screams are, you know, just like an extension of that sound. So Tuvan throat singing is a must. I do it every single. Even if I only do one warm-up, that's the warm-up that I'll do. If you ever like listen to like a tunnel scream, any kind of tunnel screams, at which like everybody seems to be doing nowadays, like we do them as well. But like if you listen to an actual tunnel scream, and then if you figure out how to do a tunnel scream, and then you listen, and then you Tuvan throat scream or Tuvan throat sing, you could actually see the correlation, because I'm convinced that two-tone sound that you're hearing while you're Tuvan throat singing is the same technique that people use in screaming that gives the tunnel scream that multi-tonal sound. The whole reason that they came up with Tuvan throat singing is because they wanted to replicate the sound that like tigers made, or like a lion would make. You know what I mean? Like that roar sound. So I mean, it's just funny, or almost like ironic, coincidental, whatever you want to call it, how screaming is just a development based off of pretty much Tuvan throat singing.
Yeah, well, that brings us full circle as to what animals do you look up to vocally? So
I guess lions and tigers are up there. I didn't even think about it, but yes, I guess they're up there next to the pig.